The Tom Sawyer Show on HBC TV 25 is brought to you by Jefferson Pub and Grill. Meet me at the levee for fabulous food and drinks at Jefferson Pub and Grill. Come check out their great nightly specials and limited time offer menu. Jefferson Pub and Grill. Hello again, everybody, and welcome to the Tom Sawyer Show here on HBC TV 25. I'm Justin Barrientos. Thanks for joining us. And Coach, kind of a disappointing loss last week. Tell us a little bit about the game, maybe like one or two of the factors that caused you to lose the game.
Well, we're having a terrible time getting off the field on the offensive side, or on the defensive side, and on the offensive side, it was the same thing. We were 5 of 15 on third downs, and we just can't do that. We've played, the last couple of weeks, we've played high-powered offenses that throw the football a ton, and we have got to balance that up. We had better balance and possession time, but we just couldn't sustain drives. And the first half, defense kind of was sleepy at the beginning, and we didn't play very inspired football, so that was disappointing, especially playing at home when knowing that we have 3 out of 4 games at home. Although in the second half they did rally, so our defense, we saw the signs of what we should be doing and can do in the second half of the football game, and our offense also got it going. So we got within 1 strike, and then of course late in the game we had 2 drives. We pushed it down inside the 25-yard line and have two interceptions. So again, I really feel that we controlled the game, and I've said that too many times. But at the same time, we're growing as a football team. We're trying to ID ourselves as somebody that needs to be chasing somebody instead of being the chased. And I think our kids have a little bit complacent and unwilling to at times step up and really play at the level that we need to play.
Before we get to the highlights, just one more question. Dimitri Morales, who is the quarterback for Upper Iowa, just seemed to be able to do whatever he wanted. I think he threw for about almost 400 yards, not quite 400 yards. Was he that good, or was he just finding holes in the defense?
Both. He's that good. He's a junior college transfer, had a lot of yards out there at the junior college. And they run the same offense they ran with Jaski, who went to a pro camp last year. So it's tough to defend. It's a 3-step game, and you make one mistake and it's a long ball. I mean, there was a ball that they threw a 3-yard route. We fall off it in zone coverage, and we didn't have anybody over the top of it, and all of a sudden the kid's gone. And so down at least a 72-yard run or whatever it was. So some of their big chunks are things that we've got to do a better job staying away from, and broken coverages. If we do things right, and when we did do things right in the game, we controlled it. We got them off the field, made them punt, I don't know, 5 or 6 times. But against a team that's going to throw it 65 times at you, you got to be on alert on every single snap. All
right, well, let's take a look at some of the highlights from this game. A loss to Upper Iowa at home for the Winona State Warriors. But as we said, I mean, there are a lot of good things on offense and defense in this game for you guys.
Yeah, I mean, we still are very explosive on both sides of the football. And our guys are running the ball well. You can see Paul Preston here. He's out and running, and he had another day of 140 some yards rushing. I mean, he's rolling, and we do have some kids that are really playing out of their minds and playing great, and we have a couple of those here today. But our offense going to work and making some things happen, getting in the end zone, and those kind of things. And Josh Mikas had a touchdown. Alan May. I mean, Paul Preston. I mean, the guys that you expect are doing nice things, but. At the same time, we've got to get off the field. And some of the highlights you see here, Jack Nelson, again, breaking the all-time passing record here at Winona State, finding Alan May across the field there. And that's the Southland move that he put on that guy right there and got tackled. So we'll give him a hard time about that later. But again, Jack had not a great day for him, although he broke the record. It wasn't his best day, and obviously we expect him to play better than that. Paul Preston doing this thing, sliding outside, walking in for the 1-yard touchdown. Again, a guy that's overachieving and doing a nice job from what we ask him to do, and here you can see the defensive pressure. We do things right. Colin Corcoran right there, and a couple other linebackers doing a nice job. And then there again, when we do things right, we're in great position, and make it stressful for him. Alan May on the punt return. Again, we got guys down there working for him. He catches the ball on the fly, and you can see he can run. And gets all the way down. It just couldn't hold it in bounds there, but he made big plays. And we got down into the low-scoring zone and got the ball in the end zone down here. So, again, going across the field, that's Cameron Johnson taking some shots there. It looks like a pinball going through there, but that's what's expected. Again, Paul Preston sliding out. You see Jack actually trying to get a block out there, but Paul making a nice job getting it back down in the end zone and scoring for the Warriors. Good defensive pressure. Like I said, when we do things right, it's really fun to watch. We just have to have more plays where we have 11 guys doing it right. And again, pressure on the bubble, they throw it a ton, and our guys got off blocks and rallied to the play and knocked it down, as you see here. Again, he's trying to come out the back door, and guys are making plays, and I think that was Jarrett Wood on that one. Guys running the hoop, that's Mike Imperiale. You know, he's really a first-year linebacker playing for us full-time now, and he's an athletic kid, and we can see that when that happens, we can do things right. You know, making plays and getting interceptions, and those things is something we got to get more of out of our defense.
Let's talk a little bit. There's a couple things after the highlights and after some of the things you're saying that I want to touch on. But first, let's talk about Cameron Johnson. It was a career day for him. How excited are you to see him develop as a wide receiver?
Well, he's really matured this year. You know, he's a great kid, and we're waiting for him to make big plays in big games, and he's starting to do that now. And he's a massive target. You know, he's a huge receiver, and you know, he's getting a little bit more single coverage or zone to the backside, and he's taking advantage of that. But he understands route running now, and is making catches. He dropped a few earlier in the year, but now he's really worked hard at it, and you know, that receiving core is starting to play at the level we expect him to.
Talked about Jack Nelson. We'll talk about the record in a second, but you talked about the fact that he kind of had a slow start. He ended up with 360-some yards passing, which was mostly in that second half. Kind of talk about the game that he had, because I know you did throw those 2 interceptions late. Were those just forced passes, or what
yeah,
was
they're communication issues. You know, we're reading on the run and reading the defenses along the way, and he had one with Josh that he hooked up, threw it right to the corner. I mean, oh, that was to Cam, I guess. But anyway, just not reading what the corner's doing. And, you know, we've been playing together for 3 straight years with those guys and 4 years with Alan, Josh, and Dylan. So we shouldn't make those mistakes. And another one, we had a vertical game going, and we wanted to go at the corner that came in the game, and he misread the safety and threw a ball in the pick, you know, on the 1-yard line or whatever it was. But so that kind of thing was just a lapse of reading it right, and he's not usually like that. You know, and you say he throws for 360 or something like that, you know, that seems pretty routine for us. So, you know, I'm like, well, if he doesn't throw for 400 yards, he's not working hard. Not necessarily the case. You know, the defense played us well, is tough as well, so, you know, that adds to it as well. But he's playing really well in the year, just didn't have a great day for him, but he'll bounce back and have a big game this week.
I think it was the 13th time that he's thrown for over 300 yards in his Warrior career. So let's talk about the future for Jack Nelson. Do you think he'll get to that 10,000-yard mark? I
think he will. You know, it's going to be difficult. You know, it's always difficult, but you know, he's rolling at 3,000 a year, so you know, it adds up. You know, when you're a 4-year starter, he's only missed 1 game, and that's the first one when he was a true freshman. Otherwise, he started every game. So if he stays healthy and that continues, you know, we still have 4 games yet this year, and obviously he's got 11 scheduled for next year. So with 15 games to go, I think he's got a pretty good shot at that elusive mark at 10,000.
All right, and then the final question in this segment, let's talk a little bit about one of the things that I looked at on the stats. Most of your numbers with Upper Iowa were even, except for penalties. You were called for a lot more penalties than Upper Iowa. How do you clean that up?
Well, we've been working hard at it all year. I mean, we're down from last year, which is good. I just, for some reason, we came into this game a little flat, and you know, our kids were just a step behind. And I don't understand that part. You know, I'm too competitive for that. I don't get it. But we've got to get that right, and that's something I got to do. Work hard at, and penalties is part of that. If you're just not into it, you know, enough and paying attention to it enough and being, you know, on point all the time, those things are going to happen. A couple of them were you know, maybe not, but like in the special teams, we just can't have penalties on that, and you know, those are big plays and momentum changing penalties. So yeah, we work at cleaning up in practice and do things in practice to discipline that, and we've been better, but we need to continue to get better to win big games. Okay,
let's move on to the player perspective part of the show. We'll get to the defense, and Colin Corcoran will be our first guest on the Tom Sawyer Show right after this. The Tom Sawyer Show on HBC TV 25 is brought to you by Jefferson Pub and Grill. Meet me at the levee for fabulous food and drinks at Jefferson Pub and Grill. Come check out their great nightly specials and limited time offer menu. Jefferson Pub and Grill.
We chose HBC because they're a local company. They have a big audience in Winona, which is the geographic group that we're looking for. Mel is very easy to work with. She's genuinely concerned about how our money is being spent, and she does everything she can to make sure we get the most for our money. She takes care of us. So whenever there's a problem, which is rarely, I know that I can go to her and she's going to take care of it.
To see how HBC advertising can help your company, call Melanie at 507-474-5802.
Tune in for the Sports Buzz every Tuesday at 5:30 as a panel of local sports journalists tackle the hottest topics on everything from local high school and collegiate sports to regional discussion about the Twins, Brewers, Vikings, and Packers. With the Power Play Fantasy Football Challenge to the Rant of the Week and NFL Pick'em, the Sports Buzz is fast-paced and sure to entertain. That's new episodes of the Sports Buzz every Tuesday at 5:30 with replays only on HBC TV 25. And welcome back to the Tom Sawyer Show here on HBC TV 25. And Coach, you have one of your linebackers with you today.
Yeah, Colin Corcoran is here today. Colin, thanks for being here, buddy.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it seems like you just saw me. He was at my house for dinner last night, so you guys ate a lot.
Oh, yeah.
Well, let's get right into it. We're playing the #1 team in the nation this week, and you're one of the leaders. If you're not first or second, maybe third in total tackles. What are you looking forward to this weekend with the Warrior defense?
I'm just looking forward to going out there and playing the best in the league, best in the conference, and probably the best team in the nation, and go out there and do our thing and hopefully get it all right this weekend. A win this weekend would just mean like my college career to me, beating those guys finally.
You know, you look at playing a team like Mankato, Sioux Falls, the big games in our league. As one of the best and premier linebackers in the league, how do you prepare for big games like this?
Same way I do for any other game. I mean, sure, there's a little more juice flowing through the body, but you just got to go at it the same way. You can't get out of your routine. I like to stick with my routine and go with that.
You know, one of the things that we were watching as we were doing the Upper Iowa game from the broadcast booth was that, I mean, you were just all over the field, and that's obviously the job of the linebacker. So when you're starting out during a play, what exactly are you watching on? What are you trying to key on?
Just mainly keeping my eyes on my keys. That's the whole thing. You can't be peering off, trying to do somebody else's job. Just kind of your responsibility, looking at the offensive lineman, the backfield set, knowing tendencies for their offense, that kind of stuff.
So what is your main job? What is the first thing that you're looking for when you're out there?
I'll just identify the backfield set. I don't know, see guard reads, just mainly pertaining to that, and just kind of find the ball. Really, wherever the ball goes, you better be there.
We were talking earlier about the Upper Iowa passing game and that quick three-step and passing game. How difficult is that really to play, especially from the linebacker position?
Extremely difficult. Gets frustrating, especially when you're blitzing, guys getting the ball out split second before you get there, and then they just try to keep it manageable. So if they're in 2nd and 5 or 3rd and 5, that's like prime time from them, and all they got to do is sling it out there as fast as they can.
You know, we were talking about Dimitri Morales having a really good game for Upper Iowa. When you see things like that happen and you see him having success, is there any tendency to try to push things or to try to do maybe more than your job, like you were talking about earlier?
Oh, of course, but I think that's the difference between like a good player and like an average player. Just consistency, doing your job and trying not to push too hard, because when you push, you start making mistakes that you shouldn't be making.
We talk about trying to get our kids to play at a higher level. What do you think are a couple things that the Warriors really need to do as an overall group to rise up and to play a game like the Mankato game?
We got to have a great week of practice. I mean, just people need to come out flying around, having fun. I mean, it's football. Sure, it's the #1 team in the country, but you still got to have fun with it and attack every day. So
I want to go backwards with you to high school, and you're talking about having fun. You were part of the first state championship for your high school, and according to the Chicago Tribune, they called you the player of the game in that game. So tell me a little bit about that state championship game.
That was the first game where I ever actually wore gloves, and I dropped my first pick six opportunity on a quick slant. It was like in the first quarter, dropped it right off my face. Next play, threw the gloves off, and decided that's enough, and I started playing my tail off that game. It was a great environment. We had the stadium packed. It was rocking. It was fun.
Well, it worked. 11 tackles, 3 tackles for a loss, and a sack in that game. Maybe talk a little bit about the atmosphere and during that game. I mean, again, it seemed like you were all over the field. What were you doing during that game? What stands out in your memory?
Yeah, it seems like forever ago, but it was awesome. I don't really know. I was just happy to be there. We've been to the semifinals 3 years in a row or 2 years in a row before that. We finally made it to the big stage. I was just trying to make as many plays as I could.
Last week last question I have for you is, you look at the practice week, and we're coming into Tuesday. We've got our Tuesday and Wednesday schedule, and a lot of that is third downs and conversions. What do you think we really, really need to do to enhance the third down situation with our program?
Just repetition. I think like we do it every practice, close to every practice, and I think we're getting better at it. But everybody just needs to really take those segments of practice more serious and really understand the down and distance, what your role is on that certain play, and how they're going to attack you.
Okay.
One of the things that Coach Sawyer said in the last segment was that he's trying to get everybody, all 11 guys, to get onto one page. And when you do that, the defense is unstoppable. As a linebacker, as kind of the quarterback of the defense, how do you get everybody on the same page?
It's a matter of just knowing how to communicate with everybody on that side of the ball, knowing how to deal with those guys and know it really gets them going and stuff like that. And then in the game, it's just barking out as many things as you can. You know, people are going no tempo. You got to be getting those calls out for your defensive linemen, your secondary. It's just part of the game.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us here, and good luck against Minnesota State. We're going to take a break here on the Tom Sawyer Show. When we come back, we'll get back to the offense and talk to Alan May right after this. The Tom Sawyer Show on HBC TV 25 is brought to you by Jefferson Pub and Grill. Meet me at the levee for fabulous food and drinks at Jefferson Pub and Grill. Come check out their great nightly specials and limited time offer menu. Jefferson Pub and Grill.
Get an inside look at the Winona State football program with the Tom Sawyer Show on TV 25. Brought to you by Jefferson Pub and Grill. Host Justin Barrientos sits down with the Warriors head coach each week to break down last week's game and to look ahead at WSU's next opponent, as well as chat with Winona State players. Tune in at 4:30 p.m. on Thursdays, 6 p.m. on Fridays, 7 a.m. on Saturdays, and before every Warrior home game for the Tom Sawyer Show on HBC. Brought to you by Jefferson Pub and Grill.
Join HBC Sports' Extra Point one-camera coverage of high school football and soccer throughout the fall, presented by Lewiston Auto. In addition to our Football Night Crew broadcasts, Extra Point will bring you 8 games from the gridiron and 9 games from the pitch. For the full slate of games, simply visit hbci.com/sports to find out when your team will be on the field. That's Extra Point coverage of HBC Sports presented by Lewiston Auto, all fall, only on TV 25.
And welcome back to the Tom Sawyer Show here on HBC TV 25. And Coach, we have our first return guest this season.
Yeah, Alan May was here earlier. Alan, thanks for coming back.
Thanks for having me.
Well, the ratings were so high, and there was a strong surge out there of trending to get him back on the show. So, Alan, the first question I have is, being a senior captain, and from the first show of the year to now, how have you grown as a player, and how have we grown in that passing attack?
As a player, everything just really starting to slow down. When we got 4 games left. So, and then in the passing game, I think we're really coming along. Me, Josh, and Cam, we've been playing now for 3 years, and we also got Dylan, JB, Joel Hinkie, Clausen. We get a bunch of guys who can come in and catch the ball too.
Mm-hmm. You talk about sustaining drives and third downs and a couple things we didn't get done last week, but when this Warrior offense is cooking, how much fun are you having out there?
It's a lot of fun. As an offense, you love scoring points, obviously, but we just got to get better on third downs. That's a big part of football, is moving the chains. So I think we were 5 for 15, so we got to be better at that and just get the ball going.
You're going down the field, and almost every game it seems like Alan May's in the end zone or close to it and running around and catching a bunch of balls. What's that like when you see that you make a great move and the ball's on flight and here it comes? What happens to you?
You get pretty excited, obviously as a receiver you want to score, obviously. But Jack does a pretty good job of putting the ball right on me, so he makes my job a lot easier, so I just got to get open and I know the ball will be there.
Okay.
This is kind of one of the things we talked about at the beginning of the season. I know all the talk for the receiving core was Josh Mikas, and because he's been covered, because they've been kind of watching him, you've emerged as one of the top receivers. How does that make you feel that you're going to be one of the main targets that Jack has this season?
Well, I knew going into the season that Josh was going to get a lot of double teams, so I tried to take as much pressure off on him. And this week, you can see Cam had a big week. They were keying on me and Josh a little more, so it was good to see him. He had a career day. So, but we all, we work well together. I run routes to get them open, and they run routes to get me open.
Okay, let me talk a little bit about punt returns, because we have these bright lights here, and I know that that's one of the problems at Maxwell Field, Ultra Federal Credit Union Stadium, is that if you're on the wrong side of the field, you're going to get the sun in your eyes, and I know you had a little problem with that. We saw you try to shield your eyes. How do you overcome that? What are some of the things that you're able to do to keep your eye on the ball and to have a good punt return?
It's kind of just like playing baseball. You got to try to shield the sun as long as possible. But I have a lot of trust in the guys in front of me, and they did a great job on Saturday. So, all I know is I just got to catch the ball, and on that big return I had, there was no one around me, which was awesome to see. It was just like they were all just doing work out there, so it makes my job a lot easier.
Are there times that you actually lose the ball in the sun and you just
Yeah.
have to kind of guess where it is?
Easily. There's times where you see the ball come off the foot and it goes in the sun, and then you lose it. It doesn't come out to the very, very end. So I gotta track it right away, and hopefully I'm under it, around it, and can field the ball.
One of the things that I was laughing about earlier was the not so good move that you had at the end of one of those crossing routes. But you really proclaim yourself as a pretty good dancer, and we have music on during the field. What are some of your best moves that you make as a dancer?
You can talk to Tamrick Atwood about that one. Just saying, I'm 2-0 on dance-offs against him. But it's all about the rhythm.
Well, it is about being a great athlete, and one of the things that you hardly ever come off the field. Why don't you just explain what all parts do you have to play on game day?
So obviously I'm in on offense, and then I'm the holder for our field goals, and then I'm in kickoff return, punt return, punt. So I never a special team. I just love being on the field. If I could play defense, I would, but obviously I can't. So I just like being on the field. Love special teams, but I love offense. So.
How much preparation does that take each week to have to be in all those different facets of the game?
It takes a lot of preparation, but that's part of the game. It's part of that's why I love football. You gotta prepare yourself. You gotta go to meetings. You gotta study in meetings. You gotta watch extra film. You gotta go to the weight room. You gotta go to class. There's a lot of preparation, but it's part of football, and I love that part.
4 games left. You talked about it as a senior and a captain of this football team. What really are the expectations from you, and deliver that to not only the people that are watching, but to our football team?
Yeah, it's weird to think that the ride's almost over, but we just got to go out and execute. And obviously your goal every week is to win. So I know we're playing Mankato, but we can still we believe we can go out there and win. It'll be tough. They're a great team. They have a fast defense, but we're just going to try to go 4-0 these last 4 weeks.
Last question. Your movement science is your major at Winona State. What do you plan to do with that after football?
I'm not sure yet. I haven't decided if I'm going to go into coaching or what. So I haven't really decided yet. I just will kind of see when I'm done with this year of football how things plan out.
That we have over 80 majors. He may be here a while. Taking up something else.
Let's hope not.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us once again, and good luck next week against Minnesota State Mankato.
Thanks.
All right, we're going to take a break here on the Tom Sawyer Show, and when we come back, we'll talk about that game against the Mavericks coming up right here on TV 25. The Tom Sawyer Show on HBC TV 25 is brought to you by Jefferson Pub and Grill. Meet me at the levee for fabulous food and drinks at Jefferson Pub and Grill. Come check out their great nightly specials and limited time offer menu. Jefferson Pub and Grill.
Look at the brows on that.
That's a hog, man.
HBC Sports is your exclusive home for Winona State soccer and volleyball for the 2015 season. Whether you prefer spikes and sets on the court or goals and saves on the pitch, if it's happening with Warriors volleyball or soccer, HBC has you covered. For the full broadcast schedule, simply visit hbci.com/sports to find out when each match will be featured live. That's Winona State soccer and volleyball all season long, only on TV 25.
We chose HBC because they're a local company. They have a big audience in Winona, which is the geographic group that we're looking for. Mel is very easy to work with. She's genuinely concerned about how our money is being spent, and she does everything she can to make sure we get the most for our money. She takes care of us. So whenever there's a problem, which is rarely, I know that I can go to her and she's going to take care of it.
To see how HBC advertising can help your company, call Melanie at 507-474-5802.
And welcome back to the Tom Sawyer Show. Now it's time to talk about next week, and it's Minnesota State, #1 team in the country. You're going to be on the road for this game. Talk about what you go through in this. How much do you make this just like any other game?
I think it's a great opportunity. I keep looking at it. You've known me for a long time, but I don't think there's any reason in the world why we won't be just sky high, full of confidence, go in there and play as hard as you can and see what happens. Our football team, when we have it going, we can win a game. We just have to do that for 60 minutes, and we've seen flashes of it all year. But what an opportunity! I mean, like you said, to not only win on the road, but to play the #1 team in the nation and a team that played in the national championship game last year. And we know a lot of those kids, a lot of the same kids that go there, we recruited as well, and a lot of ties to their players and coaches and so on. So it just makes it better for the rivalry. It makes it better for the game day and a chance for us to continue to build this program, get this thing flipped back and win a game like this, and it'll change our program.
This seems to be the rivalry that's maybe above any other, and I don't know if that's a fair thing to say, but last year there was the nationally televised game against Minnesota State. So, I mean, what would it mean to the Winona State program if you're able to get a win this weekend?
Well, it puts us back in the conversation, and I think that it helps in so many different ways. One is the confidence in our own players. 2 is it helps us in recruiting. 3 is it puts us on the national map. 4, I think it continues now, gives you something to continue to build throughout the year. And like Alan said, all of a sudden you win 4 more games and you're 7-4, and you're rolling and bringing back most of the team from this year to next year. So it's a momentum builder, but a great opportunity. I don't want our kids to miss it. I want us to go play as hard as you can, and good things will happen when you do that.
How do you feel you match up against Minnesota State?
Well, I think we match up pretty well. Their front 4 is very, very good. Josh Gordon is the best defensive player in the league, and he's tough. But we see great defensive linemen every week. But they have, he's back. One of the inside linebackers is back, and he's a great player. Secondary is a little bit different than what we saw last year. Their #1 running back isn't playing right now. So you look at, that's what they like to do with the Thomas kid. He's fantastic, but he's been hurt, so I'm not sure I don't think he's going to play. And they don't have John Wolf back there. They got a very good quarterback, but he's not back, and he was a tremendous athlete last year. So they're a little bit different. We're a bunch different, and so I think the matchup overall is pretty good for us.
Let's talk about the offense first, your offense, that is. It had a little slow start against Upper Iowa. How do you make sure that you don't have a slow start against Minnesota State?
Well, we got to play in front of the chains. We got to stay away from negative plays and sack and that kind of stuff. Although we only gave up 3 sacks, we were pressured a lot. But we got to stay in front of the chains so we can get manageable downs. And against a team like this, that a little bit more run pass 50-50 that they are compared to the pass happy teams we've seen the last few weeks. We want to get into that same balance and rhythm that they have. So moving the sticks, controlling the clock, scoring points. Once we're across midfield, we got to get points. And whether it's a long field goal or whatever it may be, we got to do that. And something big's got to happen for us. Something big's got to happen for us on the special teams. Create a turnover, score on a kick-up return or punt return. So something big's got to happen for us there. And then defensively, we just got to control it and just stay away from big plays. And I think we can do that.
Let's talk about that defense. And I asked Colin Corcoran about it. You brought it up. How do you get all 11 guys to be on the same page all game long?
He said it right. I mean, we got the practice preparation, and we practice. We've been practicing pretty well. We can't get that all onto the game field, and for a significant amount of time. And that's something we just have to do. We've changed the way that we're teaching some kids. Some kids learn different styles. So we have kids in extra during the day. I mean, we're doing everything we can, I think, to get kids to understand it better. And Mankato doesn't play at the same tempo that some of these teams are playing at as well. So that'll help us so we can get aligned right, and do things right. And the communication is key. And like Colin said, he's the controller. Those guys inside got to make sure everybody's on the right page. And to do that, we just have to take it from the practice field, which I thought was very good last Wednesday and Thursday. The second half, you saw what we can do with it. We just got to be able to do it from the time we get off the bus.
Last question, what's the difference in tempo? Because against Upper Iowa, they would rush to the line, and they would make you get in your set, and then they'd stop, and they'd look over to the sideline, and then they'd get their play. They'd use a lot of play clock. How does Minnesota State play the game?
Yeah, Minnesota State's a little more traditional football. They'll huddle at times, and they a little bit normal tempo, I would say. Where Upper Iowa is still a fast tempo team because sometimes they did go quick.
Yeah.
So when you have to be prepared, then they'll set back up and they'll look at your secondary and move, and then they check, and then we check, and it's kind of a chess game, and we were kind of going back and forth. But Mankato's a little bit more traditional, I would say, and a little bit normal tempo because they run the football a little bit more. So when you're running the football, it slows down just a little bit than throwing it in 3 steps all the time.
All right. Well, good luck against Minnesota State this week.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining us here on the Tom Sawyer Show. We'll see you next week here on TV 25.